Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about different types of research grants. And this is important if you want to undertake research and you need funding to do your research. So in this session, I'm going to explain and I will point out all the different types of grants that you can apply to drive your research. If you have been following me over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing daily videos on various aspects of research. And lately, the topics have been focused around industry research, industry funding, what is the importance of industry research, how to approach industry partners, and so on and so forth. So do check out all these videos. There's a lot of information and valuable knowledge in that which you can apply in your research. And do follow me on all my social media channels. So let's start with today's session. Today I'm going to talk about types of research grants that you can apply. This could be both industry-based grants or academic grants. So I will not be making any differentiation, but I will talk about all the different schemes that are available. I'll focus more on Australia because I know and I have worked with these grant schemes. But where possible, I will also give you some other examples. All right. So the first research type of grant is primary research grant. So this kind of grant supports research in various fields. So it's not specific to a particular field, but it is open to anyone interested in pursuing independent foundational research. This kind of research funds specific research projects, equipments, and sometimes even personnel. That is the salary for the people involved in doing this research. Some of the examples are the Australian Research Council's Discovery Projects program. This research supports researchers to undertake research in any field that they are interested in. It does not require any industry engagement or industry collaboration or partnership of any sort. So this is pure fundamental research that you want to carry out. You have to write a research proposal for this and submit it for consideration to the examination or the review committee. I have to tell you that these kind of grants are very competitive, and hence the research that you're going to do has to be very, very strong and something in which you have sufficient background, and the team that you're involved in applying with this grant has to be very strong. I mean, it applies to every kind of grant because grant funding is always, limited. So there is a limited pot of money, and a lot of researchers would want to apply for that a slice a slice of that grant money. So your research has to be very strong. The proposal has to be very convincing. And I have talked about all this in my earlier videos about how to make a good proposal, what is it that grant reviewers look for, and so on. So do check out all those videos. But remember that in this video, the focus is on explaining different types of grants. So I will not go over again the importance of the quality of research proposal, and so on. But just understand there are various different types of grants that you can apply. So this one is the foundational, or I could say the grant that where you can propose core fundamental research that you want to do. All right. So this is ARC Discovery grants in Australia. A similar grant scheme in the US is called as a National Science Foundation grants, and they also support fundamental research across all discipline and in engineering disciplines. Next is a fellowship grant. So fellowship grants support individuals in pursuing advanced research or study, and often covers living expenses and research costs. So as a research fellow, as a person who has received a fellowship, you are given two things. One is your salary is covered through this grant. But secondly, they also provide you with research funds so that you can hire PhD scholars or postdocs who can work with you and handle that research challenge that you have put forward in the grant application, in your fellowship application. This is considered very prestigious fellowship or a funding. So if you are aiming for that, you have to have a strong research background. In Australia, we have something called as the ARC Teacher Fellowship. which provides funding for mid-career researchers to conduct their research in Australian universities. So that is a individual grant that a professor or an academic applies to the Australian Research Council. ARC stands for Australian Research Council. They apply these grants to the council, and if they are successful, or when they are successful, they are funded for their position, and also for their to hire additional resources who could work with them on those research challenges. In the US, there is something similar called as the National Institute of Health Individual Fellowship Grants. So this is in the case of health, but there are similar other grants as well that are broader in application. The next thing is travel grants, and as the name suggests, this grant can be used for covering the travel, and this travel could be for attending conferences, could be attending workshop, maybe a summer school or a winter school. It could be research trips where you have to go and do data collection. Maybe you have to conduct interviews at a remote site. All this, anything that involves traveling as part of the research, is covered under the travel grant. And the aim here is to facilitate networking, presentations, and collaboration opportunities. So keep in mind that travel grants may not be a large grant, but it may cover maybe one trip for you. Maybe if it is an international trip or if it is a domestic trip, it will cover that travel, cover the cost associated with that travel, like attending a conference or paying for the remember, the travel grants may not cover the registration to conferences. That may be a separate grant or separate way that you have to find out how you can fund your registration costs for conferences or workshops. But this travel grants will help you to attend the conference. So they will cover the travel expenses. So if you have applied for, want to find out other grants that can cover the registration, you have to do that first, and then you would apply the travel grants. A Fulbright US Scholarship Program. This offers grants for US citizens to teach, research, and engage in professional projects abroad. So if you are based in the US and a US citizen, you can apply for this scholarship or these grants to cover your research projects. Next one is equipment grants. So as the name suggests, when you are requiring funding, when you're requiring capital, money to get access to some infrastructure that is required for you to conduct your research, then you can apply this kind of grant. See, for example, here, like any new technology, universities may not have the infrastructure for something new. Let's say 3D printing, right? 3D printing printers are quite expensive. So if a university wants to establish that infrastructure, they can apply something like these in equipment grants that will give them some funds so that they can partly fund the investment towards this infrastructure. So university may put in some money, and the funding agency, could be government or could be any other agency, they could put in some money. So that kind of infrastructure, specialized infrastructure needed for conducting research, can be secured through such equipment grants. It is often awarded to labs or research groups within a university. In Australia, we have the LEAF grant, Linkage, Infrastructure, Equipment and Facilities grant, and this supports purchase of research equipment used for undertaking research. Like I mentioned earlier, 3D printer could be an example, or there could be any other new technology. Maybe if you want to build a quantum computer. So quantum technology is also new and it is quite expensive. So requiring funds to set up such infrastructure is can be accessed through such equipment grants. Typically, this equipment grants, especially in case of LEAF grants, I know that this is a facility, an infrastructure that is built in a specific city, for example, let's say in Perth, but it is accessible by all the universities or those universities that have participated in the bid for this particular grant. And the objective is that this is a infrastructure that anyone in a region could benefit from. It is not only for a specific university. So that collaboration is happening, is required in this kind of grants. Similarly, in the US, there is the NSF Major Research Instrumentation Program, which assists in acquisition or development of a major research equipment that supports the research and research training goals of an organization or a university. So a similar concept, that this kind of grants support universities or organizations or research institutions to secure infrastructure needed for undertaking next generation research. And next we have project grants. So project grants support a specific project with defined objectives and timelines. And this kind of grants can kind of overlap as well with the other categories that I have already mentioned. This could include pure research grants, could be community service projects, educational programs, artistic endeavors. There are many different types of grants that kind of fit in this category of project grants. NHMRC project grant is an example that supports health and medical research projects, including clinical trials and cohort studies. That is one example. Humanities initiatives of community colleges by the National Endowment for the Humanities, which supports community college projects that strengthen the teaching and study in humanities. So any specific project-related grants that are accessible, and this could be applied by anyone. It is not that only academics from universities could apply for such grants. These are open to communities as well. So such grants, but that doesn't limit academics from applying to these grants, right? So such kind of grants are open, like Telethon Kids is in Australia. They offer grants for community-based initiatives, right? So examples like these grants give you a very specific project-related funding, where you say that this is what we want to do, this is why we want to do it, this will be the benefits of doing this, who will benefit from it, and how much money do we need, or how much funds we are expecting or we want for this kind of proposed research. Next is seed grants. Seed grants typically provide initial funding to kickstart new research projects. Many universities have seed funding within their research office. They could probably offer, say, $100,000 grants, seed grant, or 50,000 grants, but whatever, some small amount to get the research or the project started. So these are called seed funding grants. You can also get this kind of grants outside of universities through investors who may like your research project, who may like the prototype that you have developed, and you want to convert that prototype to maybe a MVP or a minimum viable product. So you can get funding to support your research or your product development through seed grants. Such grants also help researchers to gather preliminary data or develop new concepts. So the initial, it's like a seed, right? When you're planting a seed, that is the beginning of something big, beginning of a life of a new plant, right? So in the context of research, when you have an idea which is at that seed stage, where you need some infrastructure, some financial support to get that thing started. Imagine like taking a seed, but for the seed to grow, you need to plant it in soil, you have to water it, you have to fertilize it. So these kind of grants act as that bit, where they provide you with that environment to blossom. Next is training grants. Training grants support educational and training programs for students, postdocs, or professionals. It's very straightforward. This is often aimed to provide or develop skills in a particular field or methodology. So one particular grant here is, I think I have an example here. Oh, sorry, I don't have. Example here would be, Australia has a grant scheme called as Industrial Transformation Training Centers, ITTC. And the aim of that grant is to build support educational and training programs. So ITTC, the Industrial Transformation Training Centers, the objective of these grants is, as the name suggests, industrial transformation. Yeah. So training centers designed to transform an industry. And which industry? An industry that is new and upcoming, where there is insufficient skilled people for that specific job or that specific industry. So such grants help to train next generation workforce on an emerging new technology. So ARC, Australian Research Council's ITTC grant is an example of this kind of a grant scheme. Next is collaborative grants. So such grants fund projects involving multiple researchers or institutions. This also encourages interdisciplinary research and partnerships. So here a few things are important. First is interdisciplinary, right? Next is it involves multiple researchers and multiple institutions. So what is an example of this kind of a grant? Within Australia, we have the ARC linkage grants. So linkage, as the name suggests, it is a link between academia and university, and industry. So the linkage grant is a scheme where industry partner, your research collaborator, industry collaborator, has to put in some funds, and then the government will match equivalent or more funds towards that project. So that is the industry linkage grants, and the objective of linkage grants is to be collaborative and impactful, which means you are going to do research that is applied in nature. And why is it applied? Because industry wants the research to be done, and they want it so much that they are willing to put in the money to get that thing started. And that itself shows the importance of your research, because industry is committing cash towards a project, and that infers, and the government or the funding agency infers that if industry is willing to put in money, that may be of that itself shows the significance of that problem. And if it helps this company, it will help the broader industry as well. So such kind of grants are collaborative grants. Next is capital grants. They are aimed at funding infrastructure such as buildings, building renovations, construction related to academic purposes. So what is an example? A recent example was the funding that was received by Edith Cowan University in Perth to build a new campus in the city. And it was a major investment from the federal government as well as from the university to come up with this massive new campus right in the heart of Perth CBD. So such capital grants should also be considered. This may not be suitable for academics, but it's a kind of this example may not be suitable, but this kind of grants are capital grants where the funding can be used for some large projects like these. Next, we have endowment grants. Such grants provide long-term funding through investment income. Such grants support professorships, scholarships, or even research centers. So this kind of grant will have a vision that we want to build this new capability, new skill set for a region or for a university or for a state or for a country. And then there is a large scale funding that is provided for that. The Ian Potter Foundation is one such example that makes grants nationally to support charitable organizations working to benefit the community across a wide range of sectors and endeavors. So this is one example of this kind of grant. Similarly, there are many other examples. Even if you just search for that term, you will find a large number of grant opportunities in Australia, but also globally. Wherever you are based, you can just search this type of grants. Sometimes the name may be different, but you get a hang of it, what I mean through this. Next is humanitarian and service grants. So such grants support projects focused on societal benefits, such as community health, education, environmental conservation, and so on. So these projects could be conducted with a mix of academics as well as members from the community, or could be from community organizations, non-for-profit organizations. Such kind of teams will come together and pitch a project for such kind of research initiatives. This is an example of grants for social enterprises, which is offered by Westpac, which is a bank in Australia. Similarly, other banks or other companies do offer such kind of social grants that benefit the community. This is another award or grant, Sydney Meyer Performing Arts Awards. This is again focused on performing arts in that discipline. Such problems encourage academics to apply their expertise to real world problems. Like I have mentioned in my earlier videos as well, the importance of industry or community impact based research is very important. So that is all for today's session. My objective here was to give you a primer of what all different types of grants exist that you could apply. And there are many other grants that can be applied, that you can find, that you can apply depending upon your situation. There could be small size grants, medium size grants, large grants, and some of them are really huge grants. So depending upon where you are at what stage you are in your career, you may consider what is the appropriate grant that you should start applying for, and gradually build up your credibility and your skill to take on larger grants as part of a bigger team. All right, that is all in today's session. The next session I'm going to talk about PhD students. What should they do from a professional development point of view during their 3 to 4 years of PhD time? What is it that they can do to improve their professional development? All right, so that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this session. Please share it with your colleagues, with your friends, and on your social media, on your social network, and give me and provide awareness for this initiative that I have taken on of doing daily videos in March. All right, thank you very much and have a good day.